Hello, hello. Welcome back to Not My Monk Life. I'm Sky.
And I am Aisha.
It's great to see you or for you to see us. Thank you for tuning in for another episode. This episode, what honestly came across our minds right beforehand is the reality of facing change and how you can walk in the world and walk in life and embrace the moments where you realize that it's time for a change in your life, whether it's like your environment, your work, your relationships, your overall existence, your perspective on being alive, what that moment feels like, and how to move through that fluidly. I'd love to get your thoughts on that and like if you feel like you're in a moment of change in your life and what that sensation is for you.
I feel like I've been in a moment of change for the past few years. I actually started working on a multidisciplinary art project that's called Changes back in 2023, and it's been this ongoing thing. So the idea of change has been very, very consistently thought of in my life. But what sparks the initial thought when I think of change, I initially think of grief and that aspect of mourning that comes along with change, but simultaneously, mourning also brings a sense of longing. Like there's this pull for something, but also sometimes that means a resistance towards letting something go and having to deal with this idea of allowing myself the grief of reflecting and not necessarily dwelling on, okay, should I lean into what I really feel is right for this transitional step? Rather, it's more of an appreciation, but also an appreciation can hold these feelings of sadness and fear, and you're stepping into the unknown. And it's normal to have these feelings of, I really don't know if this is it. But when you feel that need to transition so strongly, it's like you can't really deny that there's a new chapter unfolding, and you don't even sometimes realize that it's unfolding until you look back to longing piece, the longing element of allowing yourself to both feel the grief, all the emotions that come with letting a chapter end, but also really embracing that sense of desire that you have for something new and that thirst for the unknown. Like, as scary as it is, if you feel like something needs to change, there's also this excitement and this curiosity for this pull in this other direction. And it's hard to be adventurous and to feel ready to embrace that, especially when there are so many uncertainties. But by being honest about all sides of that, it makes it, I'm not even going to say easier, it makes it a little bit more rooted and truthful. I'm not going to say easier.
I think that's really true. I think it makes it a lot more real. And it's not like we're falling into that whole idea of a Disney movie of, oh, it's time for change, so here I go, la di da di da di da.
Yeah.
And the dog comes with me, and I got my little backpack, and it might be raining, but I'm okay and I'm smiling. It's like, no, it's actually really, really scary when you're making that shift in your life because you really are like low key, like quantum leaping into something new and grieving the death of a life and the death of you, like that you lived its life and now you're transitioning into this new version of yourself who's meant to be in this environment with these people and doing these things. And that's really, really scary because it's like walking into it's walking into a room that you've never been in before, doing something that you've never done before, and being like, well, this is supposed to be okay. And newness is so, so scary. Because, like, how is it not scary? I mean, if someone doesn't find newness scary, that's really impressive and they should, like, take over the world one step at a time. But I think for the average everyday person, what's unknown to us easily brings fear, and being able to embrace that and realize like being able to like associate like, okay, change is coming, so be ready to grieve your old self and be ready to be afraid of what's coming. And I feel like I don't know, I haven't really had that conversation while like growing up being like, oh, time to grieve and be scared, but time to graduate to 8th grade.
Yeah, and usually change, I mean, there are some changes where it's impending, so you have time to feel what you want to feel, or if it's a choice that you have to make, like moving, and it's in your autonomy, like you're the one making it, which is equally as confusing, But there is this allowance that you do have, and you can take that space to grieve. But there's also that change where it's just sprung onto you, where there can be a sudden loss or like a sudden change that really impacts you.
Do you ever feel like when you're entering a space of change, have you ever resisted change and then been forced out by the universe? Been like, oh, I was really holding on by my claws, and then the universe said, I'm going to make this so difficult for you that you have to go.
Girl, every relationship I've ever been in, it's this constant, I know for a fact that I need to get out of this, but this, okay, but, and you and I have talked about this, every single person I've been with. Okay, but I know there's like a little bit more that I need to get out. Like there are more lessons, there's more left to be explored, there's more to be explored. And eventually it gets to the point where you're shoved out of it. That's one thing that is beautiful about change is when it comes to stuff like that where you do have a sense of agency and you start to get nudges of okay, it's time to move on or it's time to quit that job and try something else out. You can deny it as much as you want to, but it really only makes your life harder. And you're always going to learn lessons and get stuff out of it. But if there's anything I could tell my younger self, it's that yes, you can learn all the lessons in this relationship that you don't feel like is working and you can try to make it work. But if you would just listen to yourself, I promise you those lessons aren't going anywhere because if there's one thing that the universe does, it's teach you. I would say that's the biggest one where it's the hardest for me to listen to that need to change because everything else, like moving, starting something new, I feel like that is a lot easier for me because although there are other people involved, people are more significantly impacted when I'm deciding to like leave a relationship, for example. And dealing with change and making that choice to go along with change when it will inevitably impact someone else is or hasn't historically been the easiest for me, but I also can look back and realize, okay, it would have been a lot better for both of us involved if I had just listened to that pull. It would have been really messy still, but it kept getting messy.
It just gets so much worse. And it just becomes like, it can become something that you can't come back from. Like, it's almost like you hear this voice that says, hey, get out, move on, get out, move on. It starts to get mean to get you out of there. I don't know if mean's the right word, but it gets like intent. And it gets like, it becomes something where you can't ignore it anymore because you're just not meant to be in the space anymore. It's like if you're allergic to shellfish and you eat a little bit, you get a little itchy. You're like, okay, you should stop now, but if you keep going, you're gonna end up in the hospital. And it's like, why? Now, why'd you make us put you in the hospital? That's just too much. But that's like, that's such a part of experiencing change. And even what you said earlier about like the lessons attached to it, where at a certain point you've learned enough lessons, so it's time to move on. And it makes me think of like the school system of how you graduate from one grade to the next, to the next, to the next. And of course you could stay in first grade longer and really master whatever. But if you go to second grade, you're learning the same lessons but at a more elevated level. So why not just graduate to the next level? But I feel like sometimes we don't, I don't know, I think it's rare that we look at life as stepping stones and chapters in that way. It's almost like we think that we're going to step into one version of our life and that's going to be our life forever. And that's just really not the case. I don't know if maybe that's how it functioned at some point. Because even like I've had older people walk into my life and be like, hey, like, what do you do for work? I'm like, I do this for work. They're like, oh, do you want to do that forever? And I'm like, I have so many more decades of working left in me. Why would I do this forever? That's so crazy. But maybe there was a time where that was the case. I don't know. And it's okay to like look at things as I'm going to enjoy this for as long as it serves me, period. And then at some point it's not going to serve me anymore. And it's just time to move on. And that's not a bad thing to do. It's not selfish, or maybe it's selfish in a good way. But the minute that you stop feeding love into yourself is the minute that the world around you suffers too. Whoever is there, whatever is there, it's not going to benefit from you if you're not. if you're not feeling loved.
You really do have to keep yourself so in line and aligned to what you need to do. And it's not even acting out of selfishness, because when you are aligned, like, it really does impact the other people around you in a positive way. And it can also be a nudge for them to feel empowered enough within themselves to listen to themselves also. Like, if you're stuck in a toxic relationship and everyone around you, or if you're a parent and you're stuck in a toxic relationship and your children around you can see that you're not happy, they're going to mimic that. And they're going to probably do very similar things because that's what the norm is. So there's even this way of leaning onto the fact that because we're social beings and because we do pick up from other people, a way of connecting to other people is through our own listening to ourselves. And that's not a selfish thing. And if we listen to how to communicate to ourselves, we can also just learn how to communicate to other people in a way where it's not as jarring too. Because I've definitely been in relationships and stuff of experiencing that dynamic of, oh, okay, this has been bottled up for a while of wanting to leave, and then it just comes out because there's no other choice. Like what you were saying, the word that came to my mind was undeniable. Like, you can't just keep moving forward in this. But then there have been other ones where you catch it in the moment and you're able to talk through it and communicate and not have this traumatizing way of transitioning that now you have to process with a therapist for 3 years because it's so hard to let go or so hard to deal with the aftermath.
I love your point on like the more that you grind into yourself and are authentic with your like your wants and your needs, the more that it encourages people around you to function the same way. Because even I went on a vacation with my family recently and a bunch of like cousins that I'm honestly getting to know as an adult for the first time, because I was a pretty shy kid. And also, you only see each other every once in a while at like family reunions and stuff like that. And so I'm like around them, and I was a little like, I don't know if the word is worried or just had some pause about the fact that I know how much alone time I like. I know how like I kind of do my own thing sometimes, and it's just not exactly what the whole group is doing. Like the whole group could be doing this one thing, and I'm just gonna run off for a second and just go exist. And I'm like, my friends are so used to me, the people in my life are so used to me. I pick and choose them around so specifically. And it's not like something, I make it sound like I'm out here doing something crazy and it's such a burden, and it's really not. But it's one of those things where I have like one memory from a vacation years ago where like someone took it personal, something about me personal, like me wanting to like do something. So I like had that little gremlin on my shoulder being like, what if they're mad because you want to take a nap? And I was there, and there are like a few things, like maybe I like wander down the beach alone and do that, or let everyone, I get seasick so everyone goes on a boat and I stay home. And I remember mentioning to one of my cousins of being like, yeah, I was like kind of worried that like it would like throw off the vibes or something if I'm doing something a little bit different, like I want to go sit down and read a book or something, or go wander off and do this. And she said something along the lines of just like, no, like it's really cool. We all know that you do, like somehow everyone knows. She's like, we all know that you do your own thing, and it encourages us all to like do the same. And like that whole vacation, like everyone, it was like 8 of us, and everyone did do like their own thing, like all the time. Like 4 people would go here, 2 people would go there, one person would go there, one person would go there. These people do this, da da da. We didn't have to be together all the time, but we enjoyed being together most of the time. And that was really, really nice, because it's one of those things where, as much as I had pause about that aspect of myself, where I know that I know I can't hang socially forever. I just can't. I also knew I was going to be authentic no matter what, because the other option is burning out really fast and building resentment for no reason. And in being authentic immediately, it was like, no, everyone's just like, no, we can all do that. Like, you said that, and I also didn't want to do that, so we're not going to do that. Or like, I felt free knowing that you expressed that like, oh, that's the kind of party we're having, we're going to do this. And that was really encouraging. And that's one of those moments where like it's time to like step into a space where you embrace those different aspects of yourself, and like I realized one day that I need a little bit more alone time. And so don't hold on to you who thought that you could be around people all the time. Let go of that, move on. And as you grow in yourself, other people might be growing in themselves as well. Or even just learning to accept people more for who they are. It doesn't have to be that everyone wants more of what you want. It's just that we can all coexist really comfortably. And that's deeply what I think love is. Loving yourself and loving others is just accepting yourself and accepting others and not holding judgment for that and those differences.
How do you feel like when it comes to any sort of change or listening to that voice internally, whether it's I want to take a nap or I need to get out of this 15-year relationship, when it could potentially impact other people or just change up a routine, especially when you're close to people and you care about people, it is easier said than done to listen to yourself. And so dealing with not just your own grief, but feeling into maybe how that affects other people and just that empathy side of things. How do you feel is the best way to approach that and go about that?
I feel like in my life, a lot of positive, like immediate positive change has come whenever I've been ready to like burn it all down to the ground, to be honest, and lose everything. Whether it's a relationship that's very integral in my life, being ready to lose it completely because it's just not good for me. That doesn't mean that I lost that person. It means that that relationship had to die and be reborn. I've had that happen a couple of times in different ways with people who are like so special to me in my life, but like the way that we were together was just not making sense and it wasn't authentic, and was hurtful to everyone. And like even in that moment of like wanting to welcome like positive things into my life. I feel like to be ready to like welcome like love into my life, like romantic love into my life, I had to be ready to like be like, okay, I might be single forever. Like I'm fine with that. I'm fine with being completely alone until the end of my dying days in this life and never finding romantic love and then finding it in the next one. It helped me stop wasting my time looking for approaching people and being like, are you the one? Is it you? Is it you? Is it you? It became like, no, it's none of you. And it's like, oh, actually, hello. I think that I'm trying, so I think I have a good sense of that when it comes to relationships with people, just because that's been a very like integral part of my life story has been letting relationships, not even like letting relationships just burn, but more so being prepared to lose everything to be able to have an authentic connection with people. I want to apply that more into the other aspects of my life, whether it's career or like living or whatever. But I have a tendency to lean towards where the people that I care about are. So like if it's like a big change, if it's like moving to be near family, I can do that really easily versus moving to a place that I just want to go that has something to do with anybody else. I find that more difficult even if I want to. And same with like career and stuff, I'm so people driven. That's an interesting thing because I don't know, when I think about careers are very selfish places and people are very selfish in workspaces, and I don't know if it's taking heart out of it, but taking that time, it might not mean making a giant transition, but it might mean just like taking that time to really sit and make sure things are for you. And also, what does it look like for you for this space to be for you? It doesn't have to mean like, it doesn't have to mean being like someone who like job hops a lot and is just always, you know, and actually that's, no, let me not say don't do that because apparently is the move. If you want to raise, hop a job every 2 years, baby. But if you don't want to be that person, it can look like you reevaluating your situation where you're at and being like, I don't want this anymore, but I want this. And I'm going to ask for this. And if you don't give it to me, I'm prepared to lose this job entirely. And I think having that perspective on everything is a really good perspective to have. I'm not a master of it, but I am a student of it. And I'm learning every day.
I really like what you're saying about just being okay with letting everything, just letting you be with you. And that doesn't come with anything extra. Like, it doesn't mean that you have your dream job or that ideal relationship. Just being comfortable in yourself is usually what brings that stuff in. When it comes to letting go, I was thinking about what keeps me from moving in certain directions. Because even career wise, and even taking that leap to move into non traditional spaces has been according to my family, they're like, wow, you do this so effortlessly. But they don't know the internal struggle because coming from an Indian background in a South Asian household, it's doctor, lawyer, engineer, or else you're the family disappointment. Which one do you want to be? I'm
You
like, I
make
guess
things
that's just
look very
life.
effortless.
It really is that undeniable piece, though, like that aspect of,
Yeah.
okay, well, I at this point know that not only will I be happy doing this other thing, it's still hard work, but there's a difference between feeling drained after something and your soul is depleted versus I'm exhausted, but my soul is filled. And I'm grateful because I feel like a lot of what I do is that, okay, you have to work a little bit harder because everything's not just handed to you. The stability is not just handed to you. But at the end of the day, I can be so tired and exhausted and feel like I'm really recharged in my heart. And I really think that's such a beautiful thing. It's still not easy to do things that people around me, like specifically my family, don't understand. And again, as much as they probably think that I'm just so at peace with being selfish in my decisions, it's really difficult. But having to learn how to trust other people and trust that they're going to be okay, whether it's what I do with my career choice or what I do in my relationship life, especially when it comes to like breakups and stuff, having to just really put the faith in someone of, okay, you're going to be okay, and I know you're going to be okay, I think is the lesson that I've been having to learn because I do tend to take on caretaker role and I have enjoyed being the nurturer to some extent, but it also keeps me from doing what I need to do for myself. And for me personally, I am so comfortable being alone. And I think that's why relationships are always handed to me because I've never actively looked for one. I've never been like, you know what I need right now? A boy. Like that's never been the case. But I do find myself in situations for the long haul too. But I think that, yeah, just learning to trust when it comes to the letting go. It's not the fear of what will I lose as much as the focus onto, okay, but will the other person be okay? And how can I help this navigate? And I know where that comes from. I know like my early interactions in childhood, even in my early relationships, where there's that threat or that codependency that someone puts onto your decision of like, if you do this, this will bring shame onto the family. Or if you do this, if you break up with me, then I'm gonna kill myself. Like that's not okay, but that's a frequent thing that I feel like I've been exposed to are those extremes of if you do this, this is just going to be the end of the world for me. So navigating that has really just had the only way to get through that is putting the decision back in your hands, putting the focus back on you and giving yourself the grace and the space to just listen to yourself.
Part of that really is navigating change as an empath. Of like, it's not just like, oh my goodness, however will I deal with all this change? It's like, however will all of you deal with all of this change? Will all of you be okay?
That's 100% of it, I feel like.
So much.
I'm like, as much as I cry and as much as I process and as much as I grieve things every day, like even ending my position at the school right now, I'm so sad. I'm like, I might never see these children again.
That's so
Some of
real.
them. And I was crying about that, but I'm like, everyone's gonna be okay. Like this is life. So that understanding of change is an inevitable part of life, and you don't have to hold on to everything, and you don't have to try to relive the exact same experiences again and again because one time it fulfilled you. Like you're not going to get the same satisfaction of it unless you're living in this illusion of yes, but or unless you're living in this fight to chase that same feeling over and over again and you think that's what you're getting out of it. But if you really listen, every moment is different, and that's what's beautiful about life is that it breeds a different experience every second, and you can have a different interaction and relationship with joy and with connection and with love, even if it is in the form of leaving. Sorry.
That's so beautiful. Wait, what do you think is like, and you may have already said it just now, but what do you think is like the most beautiful part of change?
This might be a little cheesy, but the ability to get to know myself in a different light and understand the relationship that I have with myself, because that's the most consistent one throughout my life. And so I can reflect on other periods of change and even just how I handled certain things and really see that growth. Because a lot of times, change and just cycles of learning lessons, releasing, letting go, like think relationships, for example, it's every breakup it doesn't necessarily get easier. Like every breakup is just as hard, but I can really look back and realize, okay, I let this one, like how I processed my very first one, is so much different from how I processed ones that were a lot more passionate and more intense. And so being able to really see how you do grow and the wisdom you gain and really see like, okay, I do go through stuff and it does help me become a stronger person. And then each time there's change and transition too, being able to see the people around that draws into, like the closer connections, the closer ties, the different people that I really needed at these certain experiences, but also the closer I get with myself, the more fruitful my relationships are to people around me because the more I get to know myself in these periods of change and the more I let myself get to know myself and listen to myself, then the deeper connections that I form with people around me. So it just overall makes me feel like I'm humaning. And that's my favorite part about change is, oh, wait, hang on. You also realize you're always going to be okay. That's my favorite part about change is that you always realize that you're going to be okay. And you can have change that does feel really catastrophic and it is really hard to get through and it feels like you're never going to get through the end of it. I know I haven't experienced change in the same ways as some people have when it's certain just uncontrollable things. Um, but you always see, even from other people's stories, you get through that. And change is going to keep hitting you in the face in ways that might feel really, really exciting and positive, and in ways that might sting a little bit and test your heart. But you always get through it.
I have to remind myself of that a lot, of like, I'm not risking much when I approach change. And I think a lot of us aren't risking everything. And I think I'm always just like, I have such a strong support system. I have family around me, I have this around me. Like, I could throw it all at the wall and lose it all. And I would be okay because I have such a strong support system. Granted, it might be ego, but I don't want to have to rely on people, which is my journey to go on. I'm like, I don't need help. I'm fine. I can do everything myself. And I don't know what I was doing. I was like with my mom talking about something. And she asked me if I needed help with it. I was like, no, mom, I'm fine. I have it covered. It's fine. She's just like, you're such an independent young woman. And I was like, what are you talking about? And she was just like, just like talking to you and like knowing about other young people your age or whatever. You're just very independent. And I don't really, it's funny because I've been told that most often by men when dating of like, you're so independent. And I'm out here like, okay. But like hearing it from my mom, I was just like, oh, goodness. Maybe I am more independent than is to be expected. But it's really just the world that I live in. And I realized I hadn't really let a lot of people into like those mundane moments and like just simple aspects of helping. But jumping back to what you were saying, when it comes to like the people that you do surround yourself with, the people that you do keep when it comes to change, that used to be my favorite part of moving, and it still is. Like when you move cities, like you only keep the people who you have the most authentic connections with. Like that's who you talk to on the phone, you check in with, and you text them every few whatever, and like you connect and like you make time for each other. If you're in the town, you like see each other. And I'm like, I love that so much because it's like, oh, I met 10 people here and I kept 2. And I love doing that so much. And I'm like, I don't mind having just known someone for a year and it was a good experience and I got to let them go. I love like the little filter of like, but these are your forever people. And that's like such a gift, I think, when it comes to like when change enters your life, whether it's career change or whether it's living changes or even relationship. Even if you get into a relationship, that's a huge shift in your energy and your energetic field. And you can lose friends when you just have new people in your life. so any given change can affect who's around you, and so I do love that process of like figuring out like who is like really just gonna be with you for the long haul, even if you take a break from people. Those who like are always there, I think is really cool.
That's such a good point. Change really gives you the bare necessities. I'm thinking of even my mom. I feel like I could share this because she shares it all the time. We went from having, like a very, very stable life, and then my mom decided to sell everything and just be nomadic. And every stop, it was getting rid of more stuff until it's like, okay, you're down to just one backpack versus like a backpack and like a couple bags maybe. And hearing about this sense of like what really matters, because at the end of the day it's like I would love to keep every single thing my daughter has ever given me throughout my life, but it's like I can't carry this with me. Even just being, from my end, open of, these are all objects that, yes, mean stuff, and material things that mean stuff, but the intention behind it is what sticks and what stays. And if it's your time to just part with something, even though it holds a significant memory, the bare essential is that intention and that memory and what spoke to your heart in that moment. And being able to have the humility to let everything else go and let the opinions around everything go too. And getting to come back to and ask yourself every time during a period of change, what is most essential and necessary? Which friendships are the ones that resonate and are mutually fulfilling and are just like the ones, the ones. But I never thought about that from that angle because, yeah, when you move, you don't consistently keep in touch with every single person the way you might when you're seeing everyone. And sometimes that can be difficult, and I know that that's something I've thought about a lot over the past few years, because even entering certain spaces and having really amazing connections with people in one night and forming like what I think could be a great friendship, and not getting any numbers or like anything like that, you have those moments that just really are so touching to you, and they're not meant to be clung on to. And I think that's something that's really important in life, is that just because it touches your soul, or just because it really is that interaction or that thing that you needed in that day, or that period of your life, you don't have to hold on to it. There's that tendency, even with art, of this really touched me, so I have to recreate it and make my entire life on it. Okay, this is my favorite one. This yoga class changed my entire life. We all need to become shamans now and like teach this. It's no, how do you integrate what you learned, and how do you integrate that change into your life without feeling like you need to become that change? Because then that's not even allowing change to really be integrated into you. Because if you're not really feeling all parts of change, of like that loss and how that experience resonates and changes you, if you're just focused on, okay, how can I grasp onto it, then it's not allowing the flow of it to really happen.
I really love that point because it makes me think about like the American urge to like commodify everything that we do, of like, oh, do you like making pots? Make an Instagram about it and sell the fact that you make pots all the time. And it's like, at a certain point, because even so, at a certain point, when you turn every aspect of your life into your whole entire life, you don't have a life anymore. It's just you're not living. Everything has like a direct purpose. That purpose is consumption. And that's really difficult, whether it's like with work or hobbies or whatever. And recently I leaned back into having hobbies again, which is really nice. Because I realized most of my time was spent working for a company that is not mine, or working on our podcast, which I love. But other than that, I wasn't putting effort into something for no reason at all, besides just like, oh, I'm doing a thing. And it's like the most motivating thing. I don't want to do anything as much as I want to do my little hobby. Like my little gym by numbers, little aesthetic set that's like so viral on TikTok because it's just so aesthetic like here. I'm like, I want to do that so bad. I want to wake up in the morning and gym by numbers. I want to go to bed and gym by numbers right before bed. I want to take a lunch break and gym by numbers. I would do it so badly
This is
for
not
no
sponsored
reason.
by Jump by Numbers.
This is not sponsored yet. Hit me up, gym by numbers. Anything by numbers. Like I just love it so much, and it's like I'm so motivated, and it's like getting me so excited. But the moment that like everything becomes for others, it's like you said, it's like, oh, you have a change in your life. Now you do this thing and it brings you joy. But then you give it away if you don't hold anything for yourself, whatever that is. I think about when it comes to people who transition into like a relationship with someone and that relationship becomes public consumption, whether it's like you're an influencer or what. That's crossed my mind a few times, which is like, that seems so difficult to hold on to the authenticity of your connection, and kudos to you when you do it and if you do it, but that just seems so difficult to do, and I couldn't imagine ever ever leaning into that heavily, besides like hi, look, cutie, moving on.
When it does come to change and just going back to change, there is a level of solitude that you have to have in order to keep it genuine and authentic, because how are you supposed to truly let go if you're constantly talking about it? Like for a relationship, for example, if I can't imagine celebrities or just influencers or people with a platform who have broken up with people who broke up with someone 15 years ago and it's still in their face. I don't understand. Like I'm not I'm not even trying to let myself go down that tangent. When it comes to showing your partner, because we live in a digital age, I used to think, okay, the best parts of my life don't go on social media. But then I never really thought about it from a guy's perspective or a partner's perspective of, okay, but people need to know certain things out of respect or out of other people being able to just be like, oh, she's with someone. Like, show them enough to know so they. Okay, I'm like freezing on this because I'm trying to talk, but it's still so difficult for me to wrap my brain around, or like it's not necessarily what I truly believe, but that's also because I don't live on social media like that. It's just I don't spend much time on there.
I think I also can't really wrap my mind around that concept either, of like I need, because to briefly touch on the ask of being public with a relationship with social media, it's like I don't want them to have to know to leave me alone. I don't want people to have to know that I have a man for you to leave me alone, because you should not be bothering me. You should not be bothering me. It shouldn't be, and no offense to the people who are all going to get offended by this. Hopefully they don't listen to, I don't know. Hopefully they don't listen to the whole podcast. Hopefully they just get mad in the clips on TikTok. But I'm like, if I'm if I'm at a club or something and someone tries to hit on me and I say no thank you, no thank you. It's not I have a boyfriend. It is I have a boyfriend, and that's what works, but it's not I have a boyfriend. Like, it's not I have a boyfriend. Like, actually, no. Bye.
Yeah, the reason I'm not talking to you isn't because there's a man or a person a
It's
person in the way.
not.
It's just because I don't want
I
to.
don't want to talk to you. I could be as single as a newborn baby, and I wouldn't want to talk to you.
But that's the other thing too, is when it comes to publicizing to certain things, I don't give my social media to randoms on the street.
Yeah.
Like I really don't, because I also feel like I post art and things that are close to me, and I don't want them to know all that. If I don't already want to talk to you and be cool with you, like if you find my Instagram, that's a very different thing from I'm giving this to you because I don't want you to talk to me on anything else, but you can look at what I'm doing.
I do think that though is like, I feel like that's something that we can pull back to the aspect of change, because it is one of those things of like, what does it look like when someone enters your life and it changes the way that you move in life? Because the whole thing of like their authentic reality is maybe having a partner who wants to be a little bit more vocal about the two of you existing on aspects like social media or wherever, and then also having a partner who's more private, and like what's that balance? And how do you, and I think we'll have another episode about this, but how do you stay authentic to yourself while also leaning into the wants of the people around you and the people that are most important to you?
That's so important because also we have different experiences. You might be getting DMs from multiple people, and so in your
Right.
head, this is an issue. I can't tell you the last time I got a DM from someone that is on some like I'm trying to talk to you vibe. Like that hasn't happened. That I don't know the last time that happened. Like it's been over a few years.
It's happened twice in the entirety of my existence. And it was always people that I kind of knew and I didn't know what was happening. I was like, oh my goodness, this guy wants to go over each other's poems. And someone's just like, he wants to kiss you on the face. And I was like, what? I had no idea. Or the
Yeah.
or the other was like someone who knew a guy that I used to date and they were like they were tight and that was creepy and weird. And I was out here like, what? I thought he was just saying hi. Oh my goodness. Besides those two strange people, those two human beings, they're just people. Um, I don't have randoms. I do not get DMs. I'm not getting, and I rebuke DMs. I'm not welcoming them into my life. That's not my. It's never my life experience ever. Like strangers hit me up in my DMs because da da da. I'm like, that has never been in my life at all.
No, and so sometimes I also have to remember that is some people's experience, and some
Yes.
people I'm talking to or in a relationship with in the past, like they've probably been with girls and that was their experience. So it is important to be like, hey, this is my person. But I do think we need to touch on at some point someone entering your life and having a different experience or just how that changes your experience. And, we are people and we do have connections, so we need to listen, but that doesn't mean walking in a completely different way if we have no idea what they're talking about.
Staying authentic to yourself while also honoring the people around you.
Yeah.
And how that looks different between like a relationship versus like family or friends. Like it definitely looks way different on their levels.
This is such a good segue because I feel like I have a little feeling that this might be next week's
Look at us.
episode. Well, side note, we might have wanted to start with that, and then we're like, no, we need to talk about change. Look at our transition.
We are professionals. And once I get my audio together, look out for me.
Once I figure out how to make my lighting make me actually brown, the shade that I am, watch out.
I got a tan, guys. Shout out to the sun. Thank you guys for tuning into this episode. Watch out for next week's episode, all about staying authentic while also being true to people around you and what that looks like. And yeah, so thank you so much. It's been so fun.
Thank you. We can't wait to see you again next week.
Check us out on TikTok and Instagram and YouTube at Not My Monk Life because this is not our monk life. We're about to live it up. And we love you so much. Hope that's not awkward for you to hear, but we
We
do.
love you. We're loved.
Bye.